We still have a lot of work to do, but we're getting more confident that we can get you a recommendations report by May 25th. We have two concerns. First, there is a concern that the Board of Selectmen might already have a plan in place for the police department and that our hard work in researching and preparing the report will be disregarded. This concern was also raised by several attendees at the forums. So I want you to know that there is that concern in the air. Okay? Second concern. As we understand it, Sergeant Cooper's probationary period will end at the end of April, which is in less than 10 days. Because the committee's report and recommendations for the police department will be completed after his probationary period, we strongly suggest that the Board of Selectmen extend Sergeant Cooper's probationary period. That way, all options will be available when you make your decision on the plan for the department. This is not about Greg Cooper. He has been caught in the middle of a tricky situation. However, it is very clear that part of our report will recommend hiring practices that follow law enforcement standards that our research suggests were not followed in Sergeant Cooper's hiring. We have asked Darlene to consult the town attorney, and if the attorney suggests that the board has the legal authority to extend probation, once again, we urge you to do so. And finally, based on what we've been hearing at the forums, which has largely been, we want a police force, largely. I was at the first night and one person said, we don't want a police force. Largely people have wanted a police force. But based on input from the community, we recommend that a public forum be scheduled after the report has been completed, in which the public can discuss the recommendations and findings of the report with you. And people on the steering committee have suggested that be May 25th. When we are going to present.
Turn everything in.
Yeah.
That'd be the time to do it.
So, I'll be returning to my steering committee Monday night, and if you want me to say anything, I'm happy to say anything.
The first issue, that we already have a plan, is that individual, we might have an opinion as to what we think would be good, or we have to...
Steve, from what I've heard, that would individually, you have opinions about how to move
Well, I'm
forward.
sure we all have opinions, but that's the whole idea of what you're doing, is to better gather the public's opinions for us to compare with our own
Right.
opinions.
Right.
But we certainly don't sit here and have a plan. I mean, outside
Okay.
of going to 6
All right.
officers and 15 cruisers, outside of that.
Right.
But no, we have no plans.
At budget time, I did on tape what I was hoping would be the bare minimum that folks would approve in a budget with a, an example of what we would, how much money we would need to buy X. And
Right.
I had a plan, I had an example of what
Right.
that would be. It's not it would not be my first choice, but it was an explanation of the budget line. This might come as a shock to anybody, but I think about the police department fairly frequently, and I'd be willing to bet that I'm not the only person in the whole world who does that.
Right, we really had, no set in stone plans. The goal was to try to get to town meeting and see if we get approval for funding for a second officer to start bringing the department back. But as we move forward, the information from the advisory commission is going to be valuable as we, prepare to hopefully after the force.
All right.
You know anything, Dan?
Of course, you know I have an opinion.
What did you say?
I have an opinion.
No.
No, you don't want to hear my opinion. But no, I intend fully going along with the recommendations of the committee.
Jack?
Just a question, did you say the report is due on the 25th?
Mhm.
And the forum would be held on the 25th?
People have wondered about that.
When are you gonna read the report, or is that gonna be read aloud?
It
at the
would
forum?
be available before that meeting.
Okay, well, that's what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about, is
Yeah.
that you have some time to actually
Yeah.
read the report, that it
Yeah.
not be the...
Right,
Yes.
you'll have it prepared before then, but you make a formal
That's,
presentation.
yeah, and that's,
Can you have it available at the 18th?
right, I don't know that we can. But, so the 18th would be a Thursday, right?
Right, that's the
You
regular
work
meeting.
Fridays?
Do.
I would say it's possible the 19th.
Okay.
David?
Can I just strongly suggest that you now back up the date for when the report is due? This was a rush schedule to begin with. I think waiting another 2 or 3 days is a lot smarter than pushing the committee to shrink the amount of time, which they don't have much left of, to complete the report. So I strongly urge that you allow Chris to deliver the report on the date that they committed to delivering it on, and not back that date up.
And deliver
That's
on
my
the
opinion.
25th, and then have the forum the week after.
Right. Frankly, I think that's a better
The
idea.
25th isn't,
Yeah.
we don't have a regular meeting that night anyway.
Okay.
Um,
I don't think we do.
What?
We have a regular meeting.
No.
The
yes.
4th and then the
18th is a regular
18th.
meeting.
Yes.
Right,
So if they submitted on the 25th,
you guys will have
It's the
it
1st of June?
for the first week, the first meeting in June.
It's the 1st of June.
Right. So that way you
June
turn it
1st.
in, you'd have it prepared for us, and in turn prepared for the public, and we would, we'd do a forum, at the conclusion of a regular selectmen's meeting.
Yep.
Everybody's here and we can fill the room.
June 5th, June 1st.
June 1st.
Ruth hasn't asked anything yet, I'll do her first.
Okay, what I heard today is someone say that Sergeant Cooper has been told that he will be the next chief by one of the selectmen. I didn't ask which one, and I was not told that. So this is the gossip that's going around, and we need to address it.
I can tell you right now that I never said it.
There's been no discussion, beyond saying there's no discussion, we'll get into, what we discuss
So
with
no
people for
one's
their jobs.
discussed with Sergeant Cooper what his position will be. Thank you.
No.
There's all sorts of rumors out there, I'm
Right.
not gonna answer all of that.
Right.
There are.
On that note, the way these listening forums are set up is people are talking and there is a listener who reflects back to the person what she heard, and there are recorders writing that down. There are definitely people presenting wrong information. There are people who have right information, but there are people who are doubling the police budget as they describe the
I've
situation.
had people
you know.
I've had to correct, they
Yeah.
think the 500,000, whatever it is we have for public
Right.
safety is all police.
Right.
I say no.
So, right,
A
so,
bunch of that.
but we're not,
Yeah.
the way these are working is we're not correcting that. We're just listening to where people are coming from.
Wait
Right.
until they come to us.
That's right. Well, I hope that in the report that we will summarize what we've heard and draw conclusions about that based on what I assume will be reliable information we've gathered. So if there was a prevailing opinion, and there wasn't, that it was $600,000, $500,000 for the police budget, if that was a prevailing opinion, I would imagine the report would say, this is, a sentiment the community thinks is correct, and, maybe we gotta figure out a way that could be corrected. As an example, that was not the sentiment at all. Do you have any response to extending the probationary period?
I don't.
Okay.
You guys, I have no response for them as far as that goes. I don't think that's something to discuss in public right now.
Is there something forbidden not to be discussed in public?
Um, uh, I think it's terms and conditions of employment, which should be done in,
Because I don't have an issue. Don't have an issue with it, and I would definitely take the advice from the committee.
I don't have anything to say to you on that.
Okay.
I'm not being coy, it's
Yeah,
just something
fine.
I don't have an answer.
Yep.
you know, when you get hired in the state, we don't do it, but when you get hired in the state, you're due a letter as to your remuneration, benefits, pay, etc. that the candidate gets, and he signs and or she signs, and the town signs, or the chairman, or whatever. And to change those terms and conditions, you do that with the employee. You know, I mean, you don't have to talk about it with the employee, but the employee is brought into that and told, sounds like a reasonable employee right to me. So, 91A says that if some of that, and this is not the case in Sergeant Cooper's, I'm sure, I'm not sure, but it would not be the case. It would be, this is an entirely different reason, the police standards deal. But a change in terms and conditions could sometimes be based on a disciplinary situation. And disciplinary action with employees is specifically in 91A that that's not done in public. Although the minutes are not usually sealed, but so I would hesitate to have the discussion, and without the discussion, I think I would be voting blind. So I would not be opposed to considering that, but I would certainly want to do that in non-public session, whereas not in this case. Well, I don't know in this case, but in some other case for which you'd be setting precedent, or would be done, could be based on a disciplinary situation, and that's not public information. So if my brothers choose to do that in non-public session, I'd be interested. I would consider that with them, given the reason for the specific reason that the committee cites. But I don't know if there's any other reason that goes along with this or not.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is what you just said that so if you followed that course, would you go into non-public session right now?
No, but
No.
At the end of the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the meeting, if two of us want to do that, I'm sure the chairman would.
Right, it's no different than any other personnel issue. We, wouldn't discuss changing someone's wages or, any other status, and probationary status would be one of them in public, because there are delicate issues that we keep personal.
Yep.
If a decision is made, then obviously that decision becomes public, just as if we hire somebody, for the police department or anything else.
Right.
But the process going into that is kept out of the public eye,
Okay.
and this would be no different.
So have you seen the lawyer's response to our question?
Yeah.
Do you think that the lawyer's response suggests that you could extend the probationary period?
I do.
I think without a lawyer's response, we could extend a probationary period for an employee, or cut it short. You know, we could have a 6-month probationary and after a month and a half, say, okay, here's the deal, full time.
Okay. Thank you.
Then if so be it, can we make a motion to go into non-public at the end and discuss it?
We have
That's the way you want to
non-public
go?
at the end. We will go into non-public at the end, because we have another we have to discuss as well.
Yes, you're gonna call a.
We're doing a non-public at the end, yeah, we have another issue we have to,
Would you care to attend all or part of that to reiterate the,
Sure, if you want.
are we okay?
yeah,
with that?
can you stay till the end? We get some other stuff we gotta
Sure,
take care
yeah,
of, and then
yeah.
there's a portion you can be
Yeah,
privy to.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Are we all set with the advisory committee? Good, everyone's happy?
I just have a question. Is he allowed to be in on it if it's a personnel issue?
He can be in on it to better explain the position of the advisory committee, the discussion we can have. I would not be in favor of him staying here, but I can get outvoted.
You'll be there to provide information, and, in case one of us have a question, as to police standards.
Okay.
In a non-public concerning some employee, isn't that employee have the right to attend?
When we took a vote, yeah, well, the employee has a right to, ask for the meeting to be public, in addition to have a right to attend. And because of the nature of the change in terms and conditions of employment, we probably wouldn't vote. We might decide, but we wouldn't.
Well, I'm just asking, you said you're talking about the potential of discussing it in non-public, and, I mean, when we go into non-public, if we're gonna discuss an employee, the employee is always notified. And, if they want, that this is gonna be going on, and they have the right to attend, and they have the right to make it public also. So that's the only question I'm asking.
We can discuss and not act, and notify the employee that, we're gonna act if so choose.
Does that answer your question, Jay?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I wasn't, I'm just raising, I'm not
Yeah.
really asking.
No, I'm not prepared to take any action,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's, there's times you discuss
Yeah.
an approach, and then you get the employee in when it gets to that point. So, you have anything else? Do you have anything else? Nothing else from anybody else?
I just had Gail had her hand up first.
For this, or are you here for your library stuff? Because we'll get
Yeah.
to that as soon as we're done with this.
Okay.
Okay.
Just along the lines of Sergeant Cooper, instead of hanging out at the PD, may I suggest the Four Corners where nobody abides to any of the stop signs? I'll donate my driveway where you can see everything, and he's kind of out of the way where most people wouldn't notice him.
You tell them that there's a speed trap available to him to set there, and
He's more than welcome to use my driveway and watch how many people don't stop coming from Chicago. I watched the van go through at 35 yesterday into the village. Didn't even hesitate.
Nobody speeds in Moultonborough,
That's right.
They don't, and
That's right.
everyone knows it.
because they don't even have to enforce that anymore. All they
No,
have to do-
it's through, everyone knows. But I'd like to see him hang out there for a while, and
we'll pass that on to him.
maybe, because it's getting to a point when summer gets here, why living here all my life, there has never been a major accident there, I don't know. But it's coming. Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right, we're moving on to our appointment. Gail Maroney is here as Friends of the Library.
And Jan Hamill as well.
Hi.
Normally, we just submit the list and the application. But I just wanted to explain a couple of things on the list, because a couple of years ago when we had asked to do the calendar raffle, we were told that it could not be alcohol because you know, if a person buys a ticket and they're under 21, they wouldn't be able to receive any, you know, mead or wine. We do have the Sap House on there. It is just a tour. I called them yesterday and people are allowed to be underage. It's up to them if they were, it's up to the Sap House if people were to ask for a beverage after the tour, they would have to check their ID. And the same, the distillery, it's the same thing that, you know, they can win the gift certificate to the distillery because they sell other things in there as well. I mean, nobody, I don't believe we really sell to under 21 age people anyway, but I just wanted to specify that it's still not, we're not giving away alcohol. You know, it's just like Hattenford or a restaurant, they have, it's up to them to
I was
check.
gonna say, it's no different if you gave way to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Anybody can use their gift certificate, whatever.
So,
I'm personally okay with that.
but we wanted to publicly ask because we want to make this calendar printed up, you know, within the next few days, so. And the other thing is I asked Sergeant Cooper about what we typically do is use the parking spaces in the front of the building, and he said he would mention it to you, so is that still okay, you know?
Yes, has he talked to either of you guys? I mean, I'm fine with it. It's happened for 100 years. It might
Yeah.
as well keep going.
Yeah, we set all the plant tables up there.
I was gonna say, the plant tables you would take.
Yeah, so it's not coming out into the street except for where the parking spaces are, but, he okayed it and said he would bring it up to you guys, so. And hopefully it's a success, so if that's okay with you, we'll go ahead and print the
So it
calendar.
looks good to me. We'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the application for permit for a raffle for the Friends of Cook Memorial Library. The date of drawing is June 1st through 30th, 2017. Ticket price of $5 each, or 5 for $20. So I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Giving up your money?
Yeah, this is awesome.
Now that it's approved, she'll buy a ticket. She was holding off, see if we get approved.
What, are you kidding me? I got
Thank
sent
you
back
so
out
much.
by Dan to go back to your car and get money. Okay.
We'll be selling them at the farmers markets, we'll be selling them at the library, and any of the Friends board members or Altruism members will have.
I was gonna say, yeah, speaking to the camera so everybody watching gets it.
Hey, what would have happened to my $20 if it wasn't approved?
I need to make copies.
I would've had to give it back.
You wanna come by tomorrow and grab it? Okay.
Actually, we don't need
That's
that, you
Gail.
can have that.
Okay, perfect,
That's
thank
just
you.
for
Yeah,
keeping
We're all
everything
set.
above board.
thank you.
All right, do we have an administrative update?
Do you wanna do that motion while you're thinking of it? While we,
I was gonna start that with the sign.
Doing the
Oh,
signatures,
okay.
yeah.
Poor Darlene sat at the end of the table all night, we'll let her do her thing.
There's a tentative meeting set for May 15th with Tamworth and Sandwich perambulation. Can you guys attend?
Maybe.
say again?
May 15th, to talk about the perambulation with Sandwich at 5 o'clock.
May 15th.
Is there a,
Monday.
is
Right
that,
here?
No, it's in Sandwich.
Maybe there.
Do we all need to be there, or?
No.
No,
Anybody wanna
somebody
go?
should go though.
You- I second that. Thank you, Steve.
I've been going to that. I've
Okay.
been going to that. Paul King, I would hope, gets notice of
I
that.
will let him know, yes.
I
And,
kinda think if you'd recorded the last one and played it back, it's gonna be a lot like that on the
Mm-hmm.
15th of May.
oh no, this one is, you know, all selectmen are equal, and this sandwich where some selectmen are more equal than others, and the guy.
Yes,
So,
Thank you, Steve, for,
yeah, right.
So you're going, Steve?
So,
yes. And I'll
Senate Bill 171 passed, and Ed Comeau got me Tuesday night and said, perambulation's on, and he's gonna make me walk it. I think for the entertainment factor, to see if I fall down.
With the camera rolling.
If I fall down the mountain. However, SB 171 passed, which I think repeals RSA 52(3) or whatever the mandatory perambulation is on. I think Ed Comeau am I saying his name right, disagrees with me, and since he's a state legislator who was active on this bill, maybe he has more information than I do, but I'm hoping this is gonna get settled, but on the walk, not in court, not, you know, with taking up arms between Sandwich and Tamworth.
We could build a wall.
We'll build a wall.
Make Sandwich pay for it.
That's right. My kid signed up for Lego Club at the school. I told him to build in sections for the wall. They ship them down at the end.
Is there a time on that?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, sun's still up.
It's in page 2.
Oh, yeah, right, and I think I've got it.
Did you get to read the information on Mr. Sandonato's request? Do you want Ms. Roman to do more work on that?
Well, I was curious about the planning board, who would know,
Well, it came from the planning board. The planning board's already said no.
they've said no to this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
But he's saying that his property can be separated. So,
because, right. Is this, so the planning board has read this most current letter where he
no, I
talked-
haven't given them the attorney's information. It was out of your hands, pretty much, you said. Right, Dave?
I,
Sandonato.
he came before us.
Right.
He had a lot. I looked at the map from before he bought the lot. It was one lot when he bought it. And that was before the period of time on which the town could have involuntarily merged multiple lots.
Right.
His deed refers to multiple lots, but lots of people's deed refer to multiple lots that make up their property. Two separate things. So, I'm not aware.
He's still, he's still pushing, so the attorneys.
Well, I would, I mean, if I were you, I would ask him, where was it that it got merged? When did it ever get merged? When did the town ever merge it? When did the town
Right.
attorney or surveyor or
Right.
zoning officer merge your lots? Because that's the only thing you can undo. You can't undo something because you don't want to apply for subdivision.
Right.
And you said that we got response from the attorney? I didn't see that.
Can he subdivide that land?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to apply,
So
but he
the
could.
attorney said it's legal for him to?
No, the attorneys needs to do a little bit more homework to
Oh,
see
okay.
how it got combined. That's what she wants to do.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm just asking if you want her to continue with that for a little bit.
Right,
and see what
that would
happens.
be great.
Yeah, let her look a little more and then go from there.
But the redress, I mean, he can, well, it depends what he wants to do. The planning board tends to help folks with stuff like that, and would probably,
With an application.
Right,
He
Right.
needs a survey and an application.
right.
unless
And
it's
he hasn't
subdivided.
done any of that.
And he doesn't want to pay for that, so he's gonna keep trying to find some way to not have to do that.
Excuse me a second. The way I remember all that too, but what I do remember is that we all said as a planning board to help him. We, the planning board can't do anything. However, we really suggest that you go to the selectmen the next day, which he did.
Right.
In fact, Don came and I came to kind of make sure
Right.
that he knew that we were supporting him for that. And so the worry that we had for him was that it was up. David had seen the notice, and it was up as of December 31st. And the good news was, when he said this to you,
Extended.
you said, guess what? Good news, we've extended it for a year. And my impression was that he wasn't trying to get out of anything. My impression was that he didn't understand why all of a sudden he had one lot, then he didn't have one lot. Can he please have one lot back again, please? So I don't know that, I just think that we should try to help him.
Right.
He's always had one lot.
I know, but I mean, you know, the thing says two.
Right, he's got his
Right.
paperwork that says 2, so, yeah, we'll have council review it a
Okay.
little more and see where we're at. And
There
try
is
to do the right thing by him.
There is a public hearing scheduled for May 4th, right, at 6:30 actually. Your meeting's gonna start at 6, just to progress, progress report for the Tamworth Association project. I did get a letter this week from New Hampshire Department of Parks and Recreation. And these three people would like to come and meet you regarding Irene's Way. And thank you, David, for all the extra information you sent over. I didn't realize that we didn't have any of that.
I would assume that you did. My
I-
apologies, I would have forwarded that
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm sorry, but I didn't know.
I don't understand why it's still a thing, so I would have given you
So
guys-
hopefully, we'll have our information for when they show up,
That's May 4th?
May 4th.
Yes.
Did they give you titles of those folks?
I don't believe so, but I'll find out for you.
It's okay, I can
6
ask.
o'clock,
I'm gonna go by and
It's
ask.
gonna be at 6:30.
6:30, okay.
No, that was the other one, no,
6:30 is Donna.
yeah, 6:30 is Donna. They might be after that. Donna's gonna be first, so it might be after.
Yeah, I was gonna say realistically, it'll
Does
take
it
us a
start
half
at
hour to
6
get,
or
yeah.
does it?
It
Meeting
starts at
starts at
6.
6.
We'll do our regular meeting, then the public hearing is gonna be at 6:30, but the Parks and Rec people will be later than that.
And they'll be on the agenda.
Yes, yeah. Peter Chappell from Health Trust is coming in to review the new health policies
Policy, yep.
on May 5th. Let's see, that's really about all I needed to. The pruning demonstration at the office is set for next Thursday around 9. The garden club's gonna come and prune,
Oh,
so
there you go.
if anybody wants to come and watch.
Is it, should at least some of us be at that May 5th meeting?
Sure, if you'd like to. With Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of us are involved in the,
No, you've already made your decision that you're gonna
Correct.
go with Health Trust
Right.
and not school care. He's just, because we're offering 2 plans this
I'm
time,
with you.
I asked him to come in and
Clear up
explain
questions.
the difference between the plans, explain what a deductible is and all that.
so you want, maybe one of us.
That'd be fine, that'd
That's
be
at
great.
2:30,
It's at 2:30. I'm actually gonna be at the conference until
right.
1:30 or 2, and then we'll come back. I'm at the conference on Thursday, the night of your meeting, but I'll come back for the minutes.
We can,
Oh, you'll be back in time for the meeting?
Yeah. I'll make sure I am.
we can open a store and introduce folks if you know.
I told him that if I'm not here, just come in and set up, and I'll be here shortly, so.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fine. I think that was about it.
So that looks like all the stuff that you had for us.
Yeah.
All right, moving into our signature file, I'm gonna start off with information from Tamworth Fire Department pursuant to RSA 67451. To certify that the town of Tamworth has not adopted the state of New Hampshire revised statute annotated RSA 67451, power to amend state building code and establish enforcement procedures. I'll make a motion for this.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Passed again. Okay. Where are we at here? AP Register and Manifest in the amount of, is that right? It's big. 409, 424, 45. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
150,000 of that is for TBA.
Checkmate payroll authorization in the amount of 31,566.32. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectmen meeting minutes for April 6, 2017. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Non-public meeting minutes from April 6, 2017. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second set of non-public minutes from April 6, 2017. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Another non-public session from April 6, 2017. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Professional services agreement with Donna Lane. This is for the block grant. The Tamworth Village Association Emergency RSA Replacement for 2016. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which line does she want me to sign on? The top one or the bottom one? That's just for the legal, correct? So I sign
Right,
it,
the
yeah.
top one.
Okay. I didn't want to screw the contract up.
We include those changes that the
Yeah.
attorney made.
Intent to excavate for map 210-003-000. Intent to cut on map 414-096-001. We already voted, you didn't have to.
I was just
Made it
checking.
easy for you. We have a gravel tax levy in the amount of $1,231.36. Yield tax levy in the amount of $562.04. I think I got everything on the list.
Minutes. Did you, oh, you did.
Yeah, I
all
got
right.
the minutes.
Yeah,
New business? Nothing? Selectmen's updates? Steve?
I went to Conservation Commission, you know, they're doing their business, spring trail cleanup and that hike and heron thing and sending some kids to, like environmental, you know, up in Berlin, outdoorsy, conservation, environmental camp. Pretty rugged, three kids from Tamworth. Went to the library, boring in on getting estimates for the roof, and they get a lot of programs going out over there, and things are looking up in terms of attendance and, well, I guess your committee's meeting there and a bunch of people are meeting there. I guess it always has been that way, but now more than ever, I guess it's a good place to have in town, and usage is up, and et cetera. I went to that. There was a Lakes Region Planning Commission meeting in Wolfboro on grants. Throw me in a briar patch. I think we discussed that. Becky Mason pointed out, you know, if you're gonna mess with grants, you ought to have a grant committee to assess the thing for unintended consequences. So Lakes Region was there, some folks from the state. This is a northern border, it's like CDBG, but not the same funds. And Chuck Henderson was there from Senator Shaheen's office. And it was pretty interesting. The difficulty was, interesting enough, all of Grafton is a high needs area, and most of Coos is a high needs area. And some places around us are high needs area, but Tamworth is, and nope, we're not so needy. So for us, any of the grants that we could apply for on this go-round would be 1-for-1. That we would have to match the grant 100%, and what would probably be kind of an iffy thing for us. I mean, it would, and you know, it can be infrastructure, it can be water, it can be wastewater, it can be a whole bunch of things, but and there might come a time when we participate, but we would have to know before town meeting and budgeting time if we were going to do that, I think. Although, you know, any information is good information, and I got some cards for people who can help us through the thing if they want to. I went to the Ossipee Planning Board meeting on Tuesday. Tamworth has applied for a butter status because a number of people in town are interested in development of the corner of, I think that was Johnson Gas, at 41 and 16. And Tamworth applied for a butter status, and there was an issue before the board about of regional impact. And the motion was made, I believe at the beginning of the meeting. The chairman considered some correspondence, which was reiterated later in the meeting. But we had a letter there petitioning us, and I believe he was not given he was talking about a letter received April 10th, and the April 10th letter was signed by the three of us as per their directions. But he was looking at a previous letter that was signed somewhat differently. And although he had me on my feet explaining why we wanted the thing. And I said that, you know, maybe it was our error, but I didn't think so. But later developments rendered a moot point, I think, because the planning board made a motion that the project was not of regional impact, and that motion passed, whatever it is, to 2, maybe 6-2, or however many there are. And there was also some mention of, you know, that because I said that we had folks, we didn't have one particular thing, but we had folks that were interested in best practices and other folks that were interested in development of that property because it would be good for traffic for their business in Tamworth. And I was informed by the vice chairman that all the information they had was public, and that they had recognized me previously to speak, and so couldn't see much benefit in giving us a butter status. And the agent, in a presentation on that motion, mentioned that Tamworth has no groundwater ordinance nor zoning, and so if the project was 412 feet north of it, Tamworth would have no say whatsoever. There would be no site plan review, and so the motion passed. So although we don't have standing, we have no more standing than the planning board, the Board of Selectmen has no more standing in front of their planning board than a resident in Ossipee would have standing in our planning board. But the chairman of the Ossipee Planning Board stipulated that there's public input in every meeting. They're going to have some discussion, although not a definitive decision, on May 2nd. And then another comes up again on May 16th, and that will probably be a vote to approve or deny the site plan, which is, I think, the final step in the process. And it would seem to me that the general feeling is that, I'm not good at counting somebody else's votes, but I think that it would probably be approved about by the same vote as the regional impact vote was. So, they were cordial, and I thanked them for their consideration of us, but we don't have a butter status, and we had no special standing there. It's the way they do business, I'm okay with that. And today, fortunately, now for something completely different, I happen to sit with a county commissioner whose name will be withheld, but his initials are Dave Babson, who asked if we were going to cough up some cash for police coverage, but got off that tack. And brief discussion on the mission and purpose and progress of the advisory committee. He remarked too that Tamworth's pretty good at that. We fight like heck. I think that's what he said over the issue. And then once it's decided, we kind of all work together to get the problem solved. And that was a nice thing in our town and good example of democracy. So I'm sure he'll go back and tell the commission that things aren't sour in our town. And that's all I did.
Been busy.
Just, I take naps. I pretend I'm paying attention. No,
I attended last week's economic commission meeting, which Pat had gone over before, but real quickly touch on the date she mentioned. The LRPC meeting on the 24th at 6 o'clock at Tri-County for 10 days in May is the, what's the proper name for the arts festival?
It's an art forum.
Art
Whose
forum.
title is, damned if I know.
That's why I asked, because I know it's changed a
It's
couple
probably-
times.
Yeah, basically it is selling your art, how to sell your art, and having fun with plein air painting.
P-L-E-I-N.
Help, yeah.
Not P-L-A-N-E like you fly in, or
Absolutely,
P-L-A-I-N
right.
like
I'm not doing that.
ordinary, yeah.
That's right. Thank you for the reminder of the
You're
dates.
welcome. And attended the safety building meeting last week. And Chief Colquitt had gone over that previously as well. Definitely looking for public input and public attendance at the meetings. The next meeting will be on the 8th of May at 7 o'clock at Central Station. We are in receipt. Chief Colquitt is in receipt of a needs assessment from Sergeant Colby to get input from the police department. Chief Colquitt had done his own for the fire department, and we've had preliminary discussions with Mr. Barker, who, what's the name of his business, can you remember? But either way, that's one of their businesses.
Consulting
is
firm.
A consulting firm to help, get us on the right track here and so forth. So everything's very preliminary with that, but again, just as we're seeking input from the Police Advisory Committee, we're looking to have people weigh in on the future of a replacement for Central Station. It may in fact become a combined municipal safety building for fire, rescue, and police. And that's all I've got.
I got nothing.
Those weeks happen. I've had a lot of them.
Got planning board next week.
Old business, I think we've touched on Irene's Way already. The May 4th meeting. Sanders perambulation is a May 15th meeting at 5 o'clock.
I did get an email from Mark McConkey about
Okay.
Tamworth Road, and he's got 3 or 4 people he's trying to get together. And he should have a date for us, either Thursday or by this week, Thursday or Friday this week, about when they're gonna come out, because they're also gonna come and look at an issue of freedom as well, so.
he's gonna walk, he's gonna visit Tamworth
Here.
Road again.
Right, with Bill Cass, who's the Assistant Commissioner of DOT, and District 3 engineer, a Traffic Bureau person, and possibly Counselor Joe Kinney. So they're all gonna try and come out here.
I wonder if it would be, I'd still think that should be a 4-way stop. And I wonder if we should discuss that.
When they come out,
Well, if we decided that we wanted to petition the state for that, that might be, if we're walking with them, I think the passing lane should not be there. Whew.
We could fix that with a roller and some yellow paint, I've
Yes,
thought
you
about
could.
that one.
But if it's not gonna be, if we got 2 weeks to think about that.
Right, so hopefully, I'll have a more firmer date tomorrow.
I was gonna say,
I
once
didn't
we
hear
have a
from him
date,
today,
that'll make it
so-
easier. I mean, Mark's done a good job going to bat for us on this, and
Right.
he's kept in touch with us the whole time, and if Joe's there too, you know, lean on him, and we'll get a couple sympathetic ears, and they'll hopefully help us.
Right.
All right. Public comment? Everybody talked out?
No, I just want to compliment. I've sort of been saying for a couple of years now that there should be more getting together of the town people. And I really like the idea, a lot of the department heads coming and being kind of required to come to these meetings, which they should be. Because that way, they're, you know, when there's something that one needs to talk to all of them, or you can hear what they're doing now, because it gets lost in the translation when it's third party.
Right.
So I really want to compliment that that's happening now.
Thank you. I don't disagree, because we do our best, but we may not regurgitate correctly here, so.
No, but
keep
no,
saying
that's
it.
good. No, but you know, in other words, what they might say in passing triggers something that another department head might ask them, or someone from the public to verify more clearly. It just all works better. So thanks.
I'm happy you approve. Any further public comment? David?
Yeah, I'd like to protest your vote 2 weeks ago to allow the police cruiser to be used to commute to Wolfboro. And I'd ask you to reconsider and change your votes. Everyone who was at town meeting heard the motion and understood the outcome, and I think you guys understood it. And so I'm outraged that 2 weeks ago you voted in the opposite direction.
I didn't.
I know you didn't. No, I'm talking. I'm looking at these two.
Okay.
End of the conversation.
Yeah. No, I understand how you voted.
All right.
My point is that last August 25th, Jim made a motion and Steve seconded it, and you both voted for it to not allow the cruiser to be used to commute to Wolfboro. And it was okay then, and now you're flip-flopping. And
I'm not
but-
flip-flopping.
But, well,
It's
you're-
it's a contrasting
can-
vote,
can-
but it's a
can-
different situation now.
can I just continue, please?
Sure.
You voted in the opposite direction, and the one other thing that's changed is the whole town voted against allowing the cruiser to be used for commuting. So now some may say that the town only gets to approve the entire warrant amount, that individual line item amendments aren't binding, and the selectmen can spend up to the total amount however they see fit. 2 weeks ago, I also pointed out that in 2016, you exceeded the authorized limit for public works. So I don't know what limits you guys actually think apply. At some town meetings, the selectmen have talked after an amendment and said that they'd respect the will of the voters, and in this case, clearly not. So, especially with the police department, people have to know that you have the interest of the whole town in making your decisions, and there's not a personal agenda, and there's not a vote to avoid feeling uncomfortable or because you want to avoid a confrontation. So this is a democracy, and your authority is based on the consent of the governed, and we expect a democracy to be ruled by our votes. So I would ask you please to reconsider, remember your vote last August, remember the town meeting vote, and change your opinion. Thank you.
First off, I will say I take a little exception to you thinking we don't pay attention to the budget. The over expenditure and the maintenance line, the highway repair, whatever it was that you found, that was an accident. That's not any of us being willy-nilly. We are addressing our financial issues differently. We've got better quality control, whatever, for lack of a better term, in the office. Accounting's done better. Hopefully those mistakes won't happen in the future. To speak to voting differently on the commuting of the cruiser to and from Wolfboro, it's a completely different situation now. We have half as many police on the force. At the time we had a ton of complaints. I felt something had to be done. We did have a second cruiser right now, and if you were listening at the last one when I voted not to do it, I'm not saying that doesn't have to be revisited. But at this point in time, with one officer, one cruiser on the road, I'm willing to take that chance to have him in that cruiser, even though the on-call, and I said it to Greg when he was here, probably not going to happen, but if he's en route to Tamworth and a call comes in, I'd rather take that chance that he's in that cruiser to get there quicker than have to stop at the PD, get into it, and go. As for the motion on the floor, I'm well aware that it was Willie Farnham's intent that we take $2,000 out of that fuel line specifically to stop that cruiser. I don't agree that every single person that voted with it was voting for anything more than taking $2,000 out of the budget. The motion on the floor wasn't to remove $2,000 to stop the cruiser. That was Willie's opinion. The motion was to take $2,000 with the intent it be removed from the fuel line, and you are right, we can expend the funds as we see fit. But I don't think that's the situation here. The situation is we're in the process of trying to straighten out the police department. It's been in flux for a long time, and I personally am not prepared to change my vote, but I'll entertain a motion from either of the other two, and we'll go from there.
I'll try and speak English on this one, which I don't usually do. I tried to explain that come May 25th, this issue would be raised, and I would vote to have the cruiser stay in Tamworth. You know, we were asked previously, had we already made up our minds? Absent the police advisory committee, I was prepared, not knowing how, if anybody would second the motion or agree with what I wanted or any part thereof, to make a motion to put additional staff in the police department the day after, the Thursday after town meeting, the next day. However, the request from a townsman to the moderator came up, agreed that was going to do, and I think you're absolutely right. It's we should listen to the folks. It's a democracy, and the more people you have participating, the better it is. So I think it's great that we have this thing. I've talked to people who have gone there who describe it as a community building thing for them. They get to meet and talk with people that they've lived with in the same town with for 25 years but never had an idea what other people's ideas were. That was from John Mersfelder, who thought it was a great, the listening thing that he went to, which was some night. And he's not alone in that feeling. So, you know, I think this is a legitimate process. I think it's critically important because the mistakes made between October of 2015 and exacerbated in January and February of 2016 were primarily made, at least in my, when I got to vote or agree or make a decision on acting precipitously, acting without accurate or clear or adequate information. So we have a whole bunch of people, you know, all of us are smarter than any of us, who are working on this, and if they stand silent on the cruiser, I'm going to vote the cruiser stays home because town meeting said the cruiser should stay home, and I asked if the cruiser could stay home when the sergeant was hired, or I thought the cruiser should stay home in Tamworth, and that didn't happen for a variety of reasons, the on-call thing. So I'm hesitant now, although, you know, I voted in the affirmative, so I can make a motion to reconsider a second one. But I'm hesitant to do that, not because I'm going to blink what to me is a clear purpose of that motion and the vote of it. But I want to tread water until those folks gather information, gather the sense of the community. Maybe there's going to be a consensus, maybe not. At least they'll have some plurality of people who come up with a pretty good idea. And unless it's illegal or immoral, I think we should do it. So I'm hesitant to do anything but tread water with what we've got. On the other hand, the selectmen have instituted some supervision of the position, which was lacking, because if it had come to me, I know nothing about it. From, October till today, I have no idea about the management or supervision of a police department, and put a lot of faith and trust with a guy with 13 years experience. Once he's directed to do some things, is going to carry him out. There's closer supervision now by my brother who knows these things, informally can help out with guiding that. So I agree with you. The town meeting said cruisers should stay in town, and the cruisers should stay in town. But right now, I think that's premature because of what we've asked the townspeople to do.
Chris, are you at liberty to discuss, has any comment been made about the cruiser going back and forth to Wolfboro?
I'm certainly at liberty to discuss that, and you are too, Mark, and you are too, Ruth. I don't feel like it's been a big part of our conversation. I feel like it's come up, but to be honest with you, a lot comes up.
No, but all I get, Jim, is to touch on what you said. If you're worried about a call coming in on his way to work, if the cruiser was sitting here in town and he's on his way to work, he's not 10-1 yet anyway. He's not getting the call. And if you're concerned about a call coming in when he's coming into town, are you concerned about a call in Tamworth on a Friday afternoon and a Saturday night, the two busiest nights of the week, when he's off at home?
And I am concerned about those, that's why we've discussed changing the shifts.
Have they been changed?
Yes. I don't have the exact days,
I
I
don't
don't
even know
wanna
the
have the
schedule.
days and I don't wanna, but,
Because
yeah.
I don't think everybody should know the schedule.
And that's why I wouldn't
But
say it here.
I still think that our police officer, if we only have one, shouldn't be off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every single week.
I can tell you it's a work in progress.
Good, thank you.
That I've sat down with them. I can also say that I was at the town meeting, I heard loud and clear that the intent was that the vehicle don't go back and forth to Wolfboro. That the line item was specifically cutting the gas, specifically designated that that vehicle doesn't go back and forth. I can also tell you that I've talked to a number of people. He hasn't responded to any call. It serves no purpose whatsoever to the town of Tamworth that that vehicle goes back and forth to Wolfboro. I will also tell you that Bartlett just hired a police chief that doesn't live in Bartlett, and they have not given him a vehicle. They said, if you move to town, we will give you a vehicle, but we are not giving you a vehicle to go back and forth to work. So I stick with my vote. Apparently, I guess the others aren't gonna change, so I guess it's a mute issue at this time.
I would agree, I mean, you guys can outvote me.
I'm not gonna
I'm
make
just gonna
one,
tread water till the end of May, we get a better sense of direction where we're going.
I think it's gonna be pretty specific as to where, I assume things like that are gonna be pretty specific. What's critical is the number of cops. I mean, if we end up with one police officer, I don't care what their rank is, patrolman, chief, commissioner of police, my inclination would be, as long as they live a reasonable distance from the town line, they should probably have a cruiser. But I don't wanna decide I know what these folks are gonna say, or know what they're gonna, if they're gonna agree with anything I believe in. But they're doing the work, and I would prefer to wait and see. I mean, if it comes down to the cash, $5 a week? Is that what it is, $5 a week?
For what?
Does the cruiser going back and forth is $5 a week or $5 a day?
I don't know how you come up with $5 a week, that's
Well,
for
it was
sure.
$5 or something, $5 a day?
We're also talking wear and tear in the, that's just for the gasoline, you're
I
talking wear and
understand.
tear, and it's also become a confusing issue between when he's signing on and when he's signing off with the log. So, I mean, there's a number of issues that are involved in that.
We've had some tumultuous situations with the police department for a long time. Another 30 days, I'm in favor of sucking that up, and will, might be the wrong call, but I want to tread water with the police department until the folks are done doing what they're doing.
Any further public comment?
Can I just say, I think it's a really bad look when you've got this committee that's doing a lot of hard work, and at this point, there are some people who don't know whether you're gonna take seriously the report or not. Because in this case, I heard the same thing that Dan heard at the town meeting. It was pretty clear what that amendment was for, and you guys have decided that even though you two voted for it before, you're not voting for it this time. It doesn't really look like you're gonna be welcoming and embracing the report. And the report may be something you don't agree with at all, but it's a really bad look at this point for you guys.
But do you think town meeting wanted us to do it in the next 15 minutes, or the next 15 hours, or the next 15 days?
Personally, I expected it,
Immediately.
I expected he would have done it the next day to not put you guys in this position. Because if his first priority was serving the town, he would have said, well, that was the meeting vote, I'll grumble, but I'll do it.
He didn't do that.
He didn't do that. I expected when it came up on the meeting when you had the heads of all departments coming in and the topic came up, I expected one of you guys to just remind him, Sergeant, take care of that, and then cross it off the list and move on to the next thing. It's like, you don't gotta make a big deal about it. But, so I really am, that's my opinion. And it's like, you know, and I don't have a vote, you guys are gonna do whatever you want, but I think it's a really bad look is what I'm trying to tell you.
I've been pretty slavish about following the dictates of town meeting. And I think my brothers have too. We got a bunch of people who are interested in enough to, you know, maybe miss supper a couple of nights or do the legwork, or I think I would prefer to do nothing about the police situation until these folks have analyzed, discussed, and reported. Not only would we put stock in it, but that's the reason I'm not voting to keep the cruiser home.
Again, your point's been made, David, we appreciate it. We'll take that under advisement. Do we have any further public comment on any other issues?
On the issue of the cruisers,
Yes,
where's the fleet? Where are the other ones?
there's only one other one, it's a total of two.
It's total
Crown
two.
Vic
Didn't we have
sold
3
out,
at
yeah.
one point?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Crown Vic was sold
Oh,
out,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's in town from
Right.
time to time, but it's
Right.
not as anymore.
Right. And so the other vehicle, the other Tahoe, was sold?
No, the Crown Vic was
garage.
sold, we still
Right.
have two
It's
towers.
garaged.
It's in the
Excuse me.
garage,
And
Okay.
he alternates them.
Okay.
so that
Okay.
it doesn't set.
Okay. I know that question came up at one point, and I feel like we didn't know the answer to it. Thank you.
Anything else? I'm gonna make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32C. We'll have a brief non-public, and then I anticipate adjourning afterwards.
Second,
All in favor?
Gray votes yes.
Hidden, yes?
Poirier, no.